This is a perfect time to be alone. Kids distracted, wifey on the phone. Slip out the back door with my car keys. If I don't leave now, someone will try and find me. It's different. This time right now, solo. I have the perfect plan. Nowhere to go. Cruising down the highway, not doing more than 70. So the police mind theirs and not bother me.
Welcome to another episode of the If You Cook All Clean podcast. I'm your host, Eli Breeden. Today we have some very special guests. This is our first couple that we're having on the show, and I'm excited to have this show with them today. Eddie and Shapira Love reside in Charlotte, North Carolina, where they met 17 years ago. The Loves have been married for 10 years and have a beautiful daughter, Kylan. Did I say that right?
That's correct.
She's in the 7th grade. She loves coding, gaming, as well as crafting. Shapira is a business relationship manager in the financial sector, and she's passionate about fashion, beauty, as well as nail art. Eddie is an IT manager. He enjoys life coaching, writing, and mentoring. They both love traveling and trying new restaurants. The Loves are very active in the Charlotte community, and they work closely with the sickle cell community. They both serve as board members for Sickle Cell Partners of the Carolinas, a 501c3 based in Charlotte. Eddie and Shapira, are extremely excited about their upcoming project, a relationship podcast called Champagne Lovers. I like that name. Who came up with that name? Oh, you did? Okay. Sounds good. So we're gonna get right into it. Being that you guys are the first couple that we have on the show, we have some very interesting topics that was given to me by some of our viewers. And the first thing that they would like to know is how did you guys meet, and what was your first impression of each other?
I'll let my wife kick it off. First off,
Okay.
I want to say thank you, man, and thank
No
you,
worries.
Eli, for having us, and congratulations to you on the show.
Absolutely.
And you can go
Absolutely. I
ahead and
appreciate it.
kick it off for us.
So, how did we first meet? So, we met here in Charlotte, North Carolina, 17 years ago. And a quick version is I was coming home from my last shift at a restaurant that I worked at in Greensboro, stopped at a gas station to get a few things for the house. And before I left out of the gas station, I saw this young man. Actually, he saw me leaving out.
Uh-uh.
He asked me to, wait before he, finished paying for his things, and I did. I waited. I asked him for his phone number, and we connected after that, and we've been together ever since. But it was at a local gas station, day one in Charlotte.
Her
Oh,
first day,
that's
her
great.
first day moving to Charlotte, Eli. So
Are you serious?
yeah, she snatched me up, man. She was on the prize.
Wow.
So it was her first day in the city, and but no, honestly, I always tell that joke that I didn't give another brother a chance, man. Once she told me it was her first day in Charlotte, I was like that little wolf on Droopy. I was rubbing my hands like Birdman, and I shot my shot, and the rest is history.
Okay. Sounds good. A lot can happen at the local gas station.
Try to
Trust
tell
me.
people.
Absolutely. So, what is the most memorable experience that you guys shared together or have had together so far?
Man, a lot of memorable experiences. I should pass this one over to her and
You
see what
can,
she says.
you can.
But
That's fine.
but for me, what I will say, our most memorable experience kind of happens every year, just because our birthdays are so close in proximity. But for me, the most memorable one was bringing my daughter home, our daughter home, on my 30th birthday. Because my daughter's birthday is July 6th, my birthday is July 8th, my wife is July 10th.
Wow.
So every year, we do this celebration, man, for a whole week straight. So we got so many good memories, but the most memorable one, it'll be 30 for me, bringing this little baby home, from the hospital and trying to figure out what to do.
Absolutely. So I'll ask your wife the same question. What was your most memorable experience?
So a memorable experience with Eddie would be before we got married.
Okay.
So um, it would have to be my first trip to Mississippi
Hmm.
to meet his family, to meet his mother. We had been together for maybe 2.5 years before I went home to meet his family. And I thought that was really important because I saw Eddie in Charlotte, in the city, his close friends here. So it was good to go back to his roots and see his mom, other family members, and understand that culture in Mississippi is very different, from Charlotte. But that was a really good time. We ate good. We did the casino. Everything was really laid back, just family time. So that will be a memorable experience.
Hey, Eli took her down south to good old Mississippi, man. The
I
back
know
road.
that's right.
Hey, she ate some of that good soul food. My
Uh-uh.
aunties and my
I was gonna
auntie.
say I know she ate good while she was down
Oh
there.
man, look, that was the highlight of the trip, man. But for me,
That's when she fell in love with you.
she fell in love, and she's the only person to this day
Uh-huh.
that's ever been home to Mississippi with
Oh
me.
wow.
I've been in Charlotte 23, 24 years, 23 years, and she's the only woman that's ever went home. So, hey,
Oh wow.
Mississippi, Mississippi helped me out. It did it.
Now, this is a little bit off script, but you just reminded me of something that's very important because typically when you get married, obviously, you forsake all others. However, you are kind of embracing, other family members. How did, your family or families embrace each other? Either or.
Mhm. Pick it up.
Well, I would say our families embraced each other very well. I remember when I took Eddie home for the first time to meet my family. When I saw his connection with my father, I thought that okay, that's it. That was a good indicator that he was somebody that I would spend the rest of my life with. In addition to when he met my grandfather for the first time too. Those two men are very special to me, and when they had that bond and that connection, I knew that this was real. This was something special.
So two quick stories about that, right? So her pops, for one, her pops is a devil dog. He a Marine,
Okay.
27 years, 25 plus year Marine, hardcore, didn't like nobody, right? So
Hmm.
she bring brother home from Mississippi, solid, respectful. You know me, Eli. So
Hmm.
we connected from there, being her pops. But her grandfather, when I met him, I don't know what she was thinking, man, but she brought me to the family reunion. She took me to the family reunion in what was it, 2008? 2008. And her grandfather, I reached out my hand, shook her grandfather's hand, right? God rest his soul. And he just held my hand. He gripped my hand. He wouldn't let it go. And he said, "What is that?" I said, "It's a handshake." He said, "No." He said, "What is that?" I said, another guess, and then another wrong guess. So I kept guessing until I finally said, "A connection." I said, "It's a connection." He said, "Yeah, man, yeah, you got it. You got it. That's right. It's a connection." He looked around, looked at all the family members. Now, this the elder. This the oldest person there at the cookout, at the family reunion. He looked around at everybody. He said, "He all right. He all right with me." So after that,
I would have failed that test immediately because
man, look, I tried, bro. He wouldn't let my hand go, so he
okay,
honestly wouldn't let me give up. He wouldn't
until you gave him the correct answer,
until I gave him the correct answer.
he would have still been holding my hand because I would have
True
never
story,
guessed that.
man.
Yeah, that's good. So, um, what is the best piece of relationship advice you guys ever received, and how has it impacted your marriage?
I say one of the best pieces of relationship advice that we got was from our pastor who married us. He also did marriage counseling for us before we got married. We did several sessions, and the one thing that stuck out for me was he said, "Never let the wine run out." He said, "Never let the wine run out." And he said that again at our wedding too, at the ceremony. He said, "Never let the wine run out." And the wine, represents refreshment, and joy. And so for us, it's kind of what Champagne Lovers is all about. There's just the celebration aspect of our marriage, of our relationship, of being alive. We never stop celebrating. So that's one of the things that I've held to, and I know my wife has. We never let the wine run out.
And to add to that, I would say relationship advice that I received from my grandmother. You hear it a lot, but it stays with me, and that's don't go to bed upset. She said, regardless of how you and Eddie are feeling, you guys talk it out, kiss each other good night, and then go to sleep. But do your best not to, go to bed mad or upset. And I think that's important, and that's what I learned from her.
That's great. And you just reminded me of some other questions. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going a little bit off script. So you just reminded me of something because I was married for 14 years. Obviously, I'm divorced now. But you mentioned not going to bed upset with each other. Like, how do you navigate that? Like, um, how is that possible? Because I know at times, when, we were having certain challenges, even with therapy, even with prayer, even with, counseling and all of those things, that seemed to be an impossible task at times. So, and people want to know the real, you know what I mean? Because after obviously being married 10 years, we know, or I know, I should say, it's just not easy. You know what I mean? And there's
Uh,
some obstacles that, we all face in life, even without being married, that, you experience that can have, major impacts. Or be a major impact in your life. So I guess my question is, I understand what you mean when you say, you should never go to bed angry or what have you. But can you expand on that a little bit more? Because I just found it sometimes to just be impossible.
Hmm. And that's a very good question. And like you mentioned, nobody's perfect.
Right.
So it is not always possible to not be upset. But I think for us, it's a matter of understanding the foundation. So understanding, okay, and us both being intentional about we us not wanting to ultimately, go to bed, go to sleep, and still just being really heated. Now we may have to revisit the conversation the next day, but having that communication with each other where, okay, this is where we are right now, and this is what we're going to, continue with the next day. And even if we are met a physical touch, a kiss, good night,
that
that
was what I
kind
was
of
gonna say.
seals it as well. So at the end of the day, understanding that foundation, or why you are upset, I think is going to be key to understanding if it's impossible to get over, or is it something that we can kind of dig down a little bit deeper and understand the root cause, and know between us that, okay, we got to get past um, this hurdle. So.
And I think you nailed it really with the physical touch piece, because one of the things that and we all know that not all communication is verbal, right? So nonverbal sometimes weighs the most, or carries the most weight. So me, I'm gonna touch you, put my hand on your leg, or put my foot on you, or and like my wife said, we never go to sleep without a kiss goodnight, right? I'll wake you up out of your sleep and say you ain't kiss me, right? And we definitely have held true to that. Like I said, being married for 10, but being together for 17. I mean, we've had some nights, a lot of nights where we weren't too happy with each other going to bed, but when we hug or when we embrace or when we touch or just again put my hand in your lap or something, we make sure that we have that physical contact, and just again, understand where we are. So you said it perfectly.
That's good, and I think people, you know, they need to hear that. So that was good. So to expand on that, what is one habit or ritual you guys developed together that actually strengthens your bond?
Hmm.
Well, I will go back to what Eddie said. It is real simple, and it is making sure that before he leaves the house, we hug or we kiss.
Hmm.
Um, in addition to that, rituals throughout the day. He may send me a small text throughout the day. I could be having a worse day, and then he'll send a text, and vice versa. So that nonverbal and verbal communication throughout the day, they're really, really small, but they add up over time, and it lets me know that I'm on his mind. He's thinking about me, and I'm thinking about him. So that would be a ritual that we do daily.
I'm gonna tell you, fellas. Hey, look, if you don't listen to nothing I say tonight, write this one down. The daily check-ins throughout the day, because what happens is it breaks up the explosion. Right at the end of the day, it's not the how was your day. Well, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, or they don't get a chance to throw up on you. So you break that up. I hate to use that type of term, but you break it up throughout the day with quick check-ins. How are you? I'm thinking about you. It might be emojis. Emojis is one of the greatest things that were ever invented, because I can have a whole conversation with just emojis, and she'll reply back with a laughing emoji or crying or whatever it is. But those check-ins throughout the day, quick phone calls, whether it's a 2-minute phone call, I can kind of gauge where she is, and she can gauge where I am throughout the day, to where when we do get home, it's not so much of a explosion to kind of unpack everything that happened throughout the day.
That's good, man. I haven't quite heard that terminology before, throwing up, but I think I'm going to use that for one of my next shows, and it does make sense to some degree because in my book, I have different subjects and different chapters in there, but one in particular is you know um, the guy comes home. Obviously, the wife, beat him home, and I understand, with couples, both, parties, they work. But in this particular instance, he comes home and the wife is just loading off on him, based on all the experiences that she had that day. And, he just says to her, could you give me like 5 or 10 minutes to wind down? And don't remember specifically um, the conversation between the two in the book, but it was more so like, if you just give me, 5 or 10 minutes, when I come home and just allow me to, unwind, whenever we do have a conversation, we'll be on one accord, if you
Absolutely,
will. So,
totally agree.
that makes a lot of sense, man. So I appreciate you guys sharing that. So, what's something about marriage that kind of caught you both off guard or surprised you? You
Mm,
guys got to think about that. These questions catching you off guard?
no, they're good questions though, because you know what, your audience is gonna get something
Uh-huh.
from it, and that's the ones that are good, the ones that make you think. But I think one thing that caught me off guard as a man, we internalize a lot, we compartmentalize a lot, and it forces you. Marriage forces you to be transparent. If you're gonna be honest with that other person, you got to be honest about everything, about finances, about health, about goals, plans. How's the job going? How's it really going? right? Not how you would like for it to be going. You got to be realistic about, are you under stress? Is there some type of trauma from your childhood that's floating back up and affecting you and how you go about your day today and interact in a relationship. So I'll just say that being transparent, completely transparent, caught me off guard in the beginning because I don't come from that culture. I didn't see strong, healthy marriages. I hadn't had that example shown to me or displayed to me. Not saying that they weren't around. Certain family members had good, solid situations, but I didn't understand everything that it took to really come to a situation whole, present yourself whole, fully, transparent, honestly to a person, and they accept you, good, bad, ugly, and indifferent, and vice versa. So that's for me.
Shapira.
So for me, one thing that I realized after marriage is that I'm real simple. Is that it is going to be a roller coaster. So you're going to have your highs and you're going to have your lows. And I think what is most important is how you get through the lows. And me as a woman, I would definitely have to say getting in or getting married. Um, I had to try not to forget myself, what I like to do as a woman, because when you get married and you become a wife, being a wife, being a mother is it's a priority, and so being able to balance my family with things that I like to do and that are important to me um, was something that I didn't realize was going to change a lot, but it does. But everything comes in time, and so when I think about the roller coaster, you have your highs, you have your lows, and with kids, they get older. Everything again is in time, so and in phases, and so good phases, not so good phases, but more good than not so good, I'd say.
That's great. That's great. So, with that being said, um, what advice would you give newlyweds or couples that are considering marriage?
I'll start. So, newlyweds, I would say, and offer them um, advice to check in with each other very often. Um, yeah, you see each other every day. You're in the same household every day, but really check in with your partner, whether it be weekly, monthly, whether it's at date night, but be intentional with checking in with your partner, because as we grow and as we stay together, our needs change and we change, and you know. Like my husband says, he's not a mind reader. So if we, as the wife or as the husband, don't speak up or let our partners know exactly what it is that we need or what's changed, our needs might not get met. And then you've got a whole nother situation that can come about. So I think that it's very important to um, make sure that, you do those check-ins with each other and make them fun.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What I would say, and this is for newlyweds or couples that have been together for a long time, pull out the calendar consistently, right? And what I mean by that, she mentioned date night. We're faithfully gonna have us a date night, right? And we're gonna find a babysitter. We're going to put some on the calendar, whether it's a concert, whether it's an art festival, whether it's going to a pro basketball game, football, going out of town, staycations. We love staycations. I go uptown Charlotte in a minute, and we'll book something and hotel hop. We'll stay in two hotels in 3 4 days and eat good and just hang out, just me and her enjoying each other. So one thing I'll say just to kind of close it up is pull out the calendar on a consistent basis. That way you always have something to look forward to. And if you look at it in quarters, right? We work hard on our jobs and we look at them plan and forecast for Q1 and Q2, Q3, Q4. We do the same thing in our relationship. I'm already planning, for Q2 next year and Q3 next year. And if you look at it in months, we're going to pull out that calendar and we're going somewhere, we're doing something. And when you do that, it's not as expensive, right? when spontaneous is what gets you. If you dropping everything right now and saying, hey, we're going to up and do this, and my wife is the more spontaneous one. She know I'm gonna pull out the calendar. I'm planning, projecting what's going here, what's going there, all of that. But pull out the calendar.
That's good, man. And I think that's important. I mean, I think a lot of couples that, they get lost, you know what I
Yep.
mean? And things get lost in translation,
Yep.
especially when you start having kids. Man, a
Yep.
lot of that stuff, honestly, it goes out of the window because
It does.
you're tired, you're exhausted, not only from the job, but you have to come home and do
Right.
your husband and wife duties as well. So it's good that you guys still find time to be able to kind of balance your life in that respect. So when it comes to like your personal goals and your share goals, how do you in some respects, how do you balance your personal goals with your shared goals? And what I mean by that is, when it comes to supporting each other. I know, the time that I was married, we did support each other. However, we had personal goals, and that became a little bit more challenging. So, how do you guys balance those things when it comes to your personal goals as well as your shared goals?
Um, I would say a lot of Eddie and I's shared and personal goals,
Hmm.
they align.
Oh, good.
And I, and I think that that is important. And there are some goals that, I have personally, and how he helps me with those is number one, being transparent with him, having a conversation, and then understanding how he may be able to help me achieve whatever goal that might be. But when you ask about Eddie and I, a lot of them they do they do align, and so
Yeah, I mean, and just like with the sickle cell, and one thing that my wife wanted to make sure we did is state what the mission is behind Sickle Cell Partners of the Carolinas. So before I finish that statement, can you state what the mission is behind what we do with sickle cell? Because I want to make a point about that.
yeah.
Okay.
So the Sickle Cell Partners of the Carolinas, it is a nonprofit and a 501c3. And as a group, we support families and patients that are affected by sickle cell anemia. And our mission or goal overall is to be advocates and to educate and to raise awareness. And we do that through being active within the community. So that's Sickle Cell Partners of the Carolinas.
That's
So we
great.
do
Can
that
I ask you a
together.
question?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'm sorry. Was I
No,
interrupting?
no, go ahead. No.
So was that something personal with you guys? Do you guys know someone with sickle cell or family
So our
member?
daughter, so our
Okay.
daughter Kylan has sickle cell
Okay.
anemia, and so that was something that we learned about really the chances of it before she was born. But
Okay.
birth, she was diagnosed at birth, and so we've been on the front lines, man, and that's something that we do together. So as far as the work that we do in the community, as far as the things that we're both passionate about, culture, music, fashion, food. I mean, all those different things that kind of align. So honestly, man, like at the end of the day, I really feel like I hit the jackpot. When I met this woman, and we friends, man. Like that's a part of it. Is I'd rather be with my wife kicking it. I don't know what song that was, but the dude said my old lady harder than a lot of you, brothers or whatever he called them.
Hmm.
I really feel like that a lot of times, man. I could be, in a club full of people, and if I'm with my wife, I'm in the cut. We chilling, we doing our thing, and without a care in the world. So a lot of our stuff does line up, man. Thankfully.
That's good. That's good. Were you gonna say something else, or is that is that what you
No,
were gonna
no.
say?
Well, no, nope. That was it. Nope, that was.
Oh, okay. So, with your daughter having that experience, it fueled what you guys are doing now. But tell the audience because obviously when folks start seeing, this show, they're going to be able to relate to a lot of what you guys are experiencing. Share with the audience, maybe some of, the challenges that you've experienced with your daughter having sickle cell and how you guys have been able to navigate through some of those challenges.
Well, one thing I'll say about it is that seeing her go through what she goes through with sickle cell, my wife will get a little bit more in detail about kind of how it impacts the body. But seeing her go through a lot of that, it's the toughest thing that I've ever had to deal with. It's the toughest thing that I face today as a man is seeing my child in pain because she can be perfectly normal and then go down for 2 days, 3 days, 7 days, right? But because it can impact anywhere that blood flows, you can have a situation where you can have a pain crisis in that one area where those red blood cells that have an irregular shape get basically stopped up or clogged in one area. So that can happen in any part of her body. Mostly it happens in her legs, arms, back, things like that. But again, it can have her down to where she can hardly walk or can't walk at all or lift her arms. So a lot of the treatment and things, again, my wife will kind of talk about, but that's the hardest thing that I face, man. So as a parent, as a father, as a husband, I'm present and I've been present day one. That's one thing my wife will tell you. My daughter's gonna remember is my dad was at the doctor visits. My dad was at the checkups. My dad was at the eye doctor, the hematologist, the dentist, the whatever it is. I'm not just leaving that up to my wife. So it's something that strengthens our bond because we're in this together and we're showing her how love should look, how resilience should look, how that grit or that fight should look, and what it means to truly support one another. So we got a real tight bond. But if you want to speak to a little bit more about sickle cell, how it kind of impacts.
Well, I mean, you hit on the head most of it in terms of the sickle cell crisis. Just in addition to the challenge being seeing your child in pain, and there's not a whole lot that you can do personally in terms of taking that pain away, other than keeping her comfortable, medication, other therapies, and then emergency room doctor visits if needed. Um, One of the challenges that I would say comes about between Eddie and I is at that time we are solely focused on her. So we have to kind of look at each other and just know
Yep.
that this is our priority right now. I still love you. You're
Yep.
still here,
Yep.
but it can take time away from he and I. There's been a couple times where we've had date night planned. We were going to. It was a violinist that was going to come to Charlotte.
Yep.
Had tickets, everything ready to go, but
Shut it down.
unfortunately, she started not feeling well, and we had to pivot and take care of her. So it definitely has its challenges. But like you mentioned, I think our bond and just knowing that God gave her to us and we will do what we're supposed to do helps in caring for her.
That's great. That's great. You guys actually answered my last question. I could put this down, but we're just going to have a conversation at this point, if it's okay with you guys. I
Absolutely,
don't know how
absolutely,
much
man. We're
time.
having fun. We're enjoying it.
Oh,
Good
good. I
question.
don't know how much time you guys are working with, so I'm not going to hold you. But what I want to say to you guys honestly is, from what I'm hearing, right, and from what I'm witnessing, I truly admire you guys, right? Because in a climate where divorce rates are extremely high, don't know the percentage, I know it's well over 50%, with a lot of things that are happening in this world, it's commendable that you guys are truly, experiencing love from, my perspective from what I see. And you guys are truly putting an effort into making your marriage work and survive because it is very difficult out here, you
Yes.
know. And I've, being an author, and I know you are too as well, Eddie,
Hmm.
and just doing a lot of traveling, I experience and I see so much, man. You know, a lot of marriages, they're just not working. And I mean, there are a million different reasons why, but for the most part, just individuals aren't truly putting in the effort to make it work. A lot of people are extremely selfish. They've never had to compromise. Some folks grow up in a home where, you know, um, they only had, single parent homes. Obviously, a lot of individuals come from single parent. That's not necessarily, the reason why marriages don't work, but some individuals start off with a shaky, roadmap, if you will.
Right.
And it's just commendable, because clearly marriages really aren't working anymore, and people are giving up. When I saw you, Eddie, because it's been years, before we ran into each other, me and Miss Gamble, who I started working with initially when I was in the barbering industry.
Hmm.
We were having a conversation, right? And she has to be well in her 80s at this point, but she said, "You know what, Eli? I just don't think people are necessarily cut out for marriage anymore." And she said, I don't know if people are even interested in being married anymore. You know what I mean?
Yep.
With all the things that are happening in this world. So when I, ran into you, that was one of the conversations that we were having, and
Wow.
was about marriage. And just so happened, just a couple of weeks later, you're on the show, and you guys are a prime example of, what people should aspire, to be, within a marriage. No matter what happens, in your marriage or in the future, from what is being presented today, I see, the love, and
Thank
the name fits you guys
you.
well.
I appreciate it, man. And I'll say one thing I will say is, it breaks my heart to see a lot of what happens and what goes on social media, because there's really a war going on between, men and women, single people, married people. A lot of the narratives that get perpetuated about marriage, the things that get said about black men, black women, we don't see that happen in a whole lot of other cultures, man. And it breaks my heart to see it happen. And I really feel like, as a man, part of making sure the foundation is solid is making sure that you have a healthy environment to raise children in, to have a spouse, a relationship that can thrive in. So that's a lot of where we take the lead. And for me, I've always said, because I didn't have that upbringing or that environment conducive to a healthy nuclear family, I didn't have that and didn't see that. But I always said, when I get that and get to that point, I'm gonna be that. I'm gonna create that thing. Or as they say, be the change that you wish to see in the world. That's one of the things that I've always held to. And my wife is the same exact way. Being the oldest child, I'm the oldest. Of my siblings that was raised at home with me. We both have had to kind of blaze our own trails. So I just think when our paths kind of collided, and it was just meant, it's just been destiny ever since.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. So, Shapira, do you have anything to add
Mhm.
to that?
No, I don't have anything to add to
Okay.
that.
Okay. Yeah.
Very good.
So yeah, it's important for the audience to, kind of see this, because, for those who have given up, and I'm not saying I'm one of those people, but for those who have given up on love and maybe marriage, this is important for people to see. So guys, we appreciate you coming to join us today. Hopefully, we can, have you guys back for a second round, and maybe get you on a panel because we intend to do that in the future. And we're going to have a panel of guests, married couples, maybe even single folks. And we look forward to your podcast. Tell us a little bit about what you guys have going on and when is the release date or the date you guys plan to start the podcast.
Champagne Lovers, right now, we already have a pilot out
Okay.
there.
Okay.
And so we are in the process of recording. So we're being really strategic about it. We want to make sure we get our episodes recorded in bulk so that we can put out in production so that the listeners can have something to listen to, back to back. And so once we have that date, we will make sure you have it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sounds
And
good.
we did the first one. It was a audio only, so this time it will be video. So we will put it on YouTube and bring the camera in and do all that good stuff. So we're just trying to do it right and keep bringing you good content just like this. So we definitely appreciate you, man, for having us, and we enjoyed it. It's fun.
Yes.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys joining us, and we'll put the podcast and whatever else you want me to put in the description. I'll put in there. You can just send it to me, and we'll put it in the description. So, hey guys, hopefully you've gained something from this show, and hopefully you've gained some insight into a successful marriage and what it takes to actually keep a relationship together. And as I mentioned, we'll in the future have them back again. So thank you guys for joining, and we will see you soon for the next episode.
Looking forward to it. Thank you. Peace out.
Absolutely.
Meditation. Blood pressure down, keep my heart from racing. Solo vibes, kicking it with myself. Clear my head, can only think of one smell. I haven't smoked since college, thinking about doing it. Yeah, no one will know 'cause my windows is tinted. Maybe right downtown to see the bright lights, or take a walk in the neighborhood with the big houses on the south side, or do what they do in the movies, watch planes fly to the sky. Don't know what to do with myself, not used to this alone time. Every day, rocking my nerves, so I better go. I need some peace, yeah. Need some peace on right now, solo. Prevent going crazy, time to myself.